On 2.8a, surveying for a bridge. Priya and Jasmine are engineers who have been asked by the local government to design a pedestrian bridge across a river in the town park. They need to figure out how long to make the bridge. Engineers use a device called a theodolite to measure the angle between 2 points from a fixed position. They use this information to figure out the distance between locations that are too far away from each other to measure directly. Priya sets up a theodolite on one side of the river. Jasmine sets up two spots opposite that are 10 feet apart. Suppose that Priya and Jasmine are directly across the river from each other. They want to put the bridge. There is a right triangle formed by Priya's theodolite in the two spots Jasmine sets up. Priya determines the angle between the two spots is 20 degrees. So the angle between these two is 20 degrees. And we want to figure out how long is this side. And we know that this is our right angle. Now, we have only talked about the Pythagorean theorem so far. So we don't know how to solve this using the Pythagorean theorem because I only have one side. So we need a second side. So that is where our tangent ratio comes in. So we've talked about how we have similar right triangles. So when you see this here, this means tan is tangent, is the abbreviation for that. And then theta is going to be our angle of interest. And so tangent is the ratio of the opposite side over the adjacent side. Now, we've talked about adjacent in the past is going to be your next to, so it's the next to. So here, I always need to label my hypotenuse first. And then if A is the angle I'm interested in, the opposite side would be 6 over the adjacent side is 8. So any angle degree would have the same ratio if they are similar triangles. And so our calculators have all of these possible similar triangle ratios stored in them as the tangent angle. All right. So if B is our angle of interest, we first have to identify the hypotenuse as always. And then if B is our angle of interest, then my opposite side is 5. My adjacent side would be 10. And so we can always identify the opposite and the adjacent based on what is our angle of interest. So if I'm looking back at this here, my opposite, well, first of all, my hypotenuse is always going to be my first one. So my hypotenuse is over here. And then across from the 20 is my opposite side. And then up here would be my adjacent side. So my tangent of my angle is going to be equal to the opposite over the adjacent. So my tangent of the 20 degrees is equal to 10 over x. So any, which I can check here that it's in degrees, any similar triangle with 20 as one of my angles is going to have a ratio of 0.36397 between the opposite and the adjacent sides. Now, to get x by itself, I'm going to multiply by x on each side. So I get 0 equals 10. And then I can divide both sides by the 0.36397 to get x by itself. If I divide 10 by our number here, I see that x is 27.47 long. And so I would know that the bridge that Priya and Jasmine are wanting to build would be 27.47 feet. And that is how you use a tangent ratio. And we will apply this in our next class.